welcome back to another episode of Built from the Inside Out. Today's episode is going to be a little bit different. I have three guests with me. I have my amazing husband with me, and then we also have our friends who are business owners, full-time workers, parents. They have a nonprofit, and they're just out here saving the world. So, welcome, Kelly and Jon.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah.
This is really awesome.
Oh,
That was
and
exciting.
Juan, too. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome on.
Thank you.
So, talk to us about what you're doing right now with your business. So, they own a business which is tallow butter, but I'll let them explain that to y'all.
You wanna hit it or you want me to do it?
I want you to do it.
You're uncomfortable? Are you blushing already?
You're better at this than I am.
So it started one evening when my daughter was breaking out with acne, and we started looking at the ingredients that she makes or that she was using in her skin. And the ingredients were all things that the company I work at makes. And I see every day these operators that are making the product. They have to wear this like PPE, goggles, like crazy amounts of protective equipment to make the equipment. And then it gets into a little jar, and then our kids or all of us put the product on our face. So me being me, I was like, I bet you we can make something more natural and we can use it inside the house. And when I started researching, I came across Native Americans and Roman Empire and like the ancient Greeks used to use tallow butter as a skin protectant, skin moisturizer, and things like that. And we were already using tallow for a cooking oil. So I was like, oh crap, you can use tallow as a cooking oil and on your skin, which was crazy. So at the time we were just buying tallow from HEB. So that, like, we didn't know at the time, but that tallow butter had like beef flavoring in it. We thought we were buying natural tallow, but it's like added beef flavor. So when we started using it, we were like, oh, it works really good, but we kind of smell like a little beefy here. It smells a little weird.
Your mom did not like that.
My mom was talking so much trash about
You were calling her crazy.
Yeah, I was
You're
like,
no, it doesn't.
this is natural. So when we started like looking into it, we are like, oh, this has added stuff into it. So even stuff that's that made us go on this journey of like the things that we put in our body is very important. We've been trying to make this transition into thinking about, all right, what are we putting in our kids' body? What ingredients are we using for that? Into this other side of the spectrum of the things that we're putting on our largest organ on our body. So it's things that go on our body are just as important of what goes inside our body. So we started looking at tallow, and then we started researching like, okay, well, you need a carrier oil. Most companies, there's a lot of tallow companies out there that use coconut oil. That's kind of like the main thing as a carrier oil. We started looking at prickly pear oil because Native Americans used prickly pear oil as a skin lubricant, medicinal purposes, just to like helping with bug bites. Like if they got bit by snakes, they used prickly pear oil to help heal wounds. So we were like, all right, well, let's add that. And that's kind of where it started, man. So yeah, we want to provide natural skincare products that are truly natural, because a lot of companies say that, you know, our stuff is natural, right? And then you start looking at the ingredients, you're like, all right, well, propylene glycol is not natural.
Yeah.
Like these acids, these acids aren't natural.
Fragrance oils.
Yeah, synthetic fragrances. It would be like natural but added flavor or something like that.
Yeah, we talked about it last time.
Yeah, like y'all see it in, you know, the pre-workouts and, you know, other supplement companies. So that's our niche. We're trying to provide the elements that Mother Nature provides to everyone, and just bottle that up and provide that to people.
Nice.
So that's kind of what we're doing.
And that's awesome. I love that. So I don't know if we talked, I don't remember if you mentioned, but tallow. What is tallow? Is that the bone of the cow?
So tallow is rendered beef fat. So it's the fat of the animal. Yeah, so the whole concept is like using the entire animal. So we're really disconnected as a society from what goes on to animals, the process of butchering and cleaning animals and taking care of animals. So we're trying to help close that gap and almost bring nature back to people. And one of those ways are using animal fats. Like, it's pretty crazy for us to think as a society that we can make something chemically enhanced that's better than nature. Like nature provides like our way of thinking and like now, and Kelly's like coming on board slowly, but it's like I think like nature
Yeah.
provides the elements that we need to nourish and protect our skin.
So-
100%.
Yeah. What was the driving factor in that? Because you're mentioning that Native Americans, and then so like what's the backstory on you? Because you were very into like what's natural. Let's go back to the roots. That's using the whole animal, respecting the wild, and all that. What's the backstory there that really triggered all of that?
Was
Man-
it your daughter?
Yeah. Well, it's been like a journey, right? Like it started with like health and fitness, like wanting to eat clean, and I started the keto diet. We were doing the keto at the house.
I definitely think it started with you wanting to eat better. Like
Yeah.
he started eating better and he started running insane amounts.
And I'm the
like-
type of person that influences my household, whether they want to be influenced or not.
That's true.
So like when I was eating keto, everyone was eating keto.
So
And
we
then
thought.
that's
You
kind of
weren't
like
there.
that was kind of the driving force. It was like one thing kind of stacked up, and then you start digging into like ingredients or like how animals are raised, or like organic versus like regenerative agriculture. So yeah, just one thing stacked on top of each other, and then you're constantly improving yourself. Like you want to get better every day, or you want to like learn something to optimize your life every single day. So that's kind of like where we landed at. And yeah, I would say Candace was kind of like the driving force of she was breaking out and putting crazy things on her face, and I noticed that when she would put it on and her face would turn red for like 30 minutes, and then it would go back to normal. And she's really fair skinned too, but when you look at it, it's just like acid and like acid. Those are all the ingredients, and to me that's wild that we put that on her skin.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we never thought about, well, maybe you did, but I definitely didn't. We never thought about what she actually ate.
And I was going to
Okay.
say, whenever you said that he started eating better, that's what we're doing, Kelly and I. And then the other podcast that I've been doing is women's health. And everything starts with what you eat.
Yeah.
And then once you fix that, you start bettering other aspects of your life. But it all starts with the food. And you can literally heal yourself
Yeah.
through
Yeah.
food.
Yeah.
So yes, nature. 100%.
I think we got to tallow because when John was starting his journey to eating better, he was looking at stuff that makes you inflamed, and seed oils was like his obsession for the longest time.
Bro,
And he's
have
like-
y'all looked into seed oils?
Oh, jeez.
I just see on TikTok that they're bad.
Bro,
But I
try,
haven't like actually
go
dove
in your pantry right now. Oh, y'all probably have a clean pantry.
Yeah.
For the
There's probably
most
nothing
part.
in there.
That-
It's all Pop Tarts.
Actually, one of our friends, they when they go to the house, they're like, "Dude, y'all's house is boring." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Y'all have no snacks." He's like, "It's like no, yeah, I don't have kids. Y'all don't have snacks. Y'all don't have anything like this." I was like, "Dude, it was a transition when I moved in. Like, I was used to, let's have some cookies or let's have some chips or soda or something." And she's like, "No, we don't do that."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Okay, we don't do that. Like, we're just gonna live healthier lifestyles."
Yeah.
It's a transition, but it's cool.
Yeah. And then his wife, they came over one time and she was it was like everybody brought something to eat and she was like, I'll just bake it there. And then she gets there, she's like, where's your sugar? And I was like, we don't have sugar. She's like, what?
How do you not have sugar? It's a wild way of thinking, but anything that's in a package or in a box has seed oils. That's the easiest way to think of it because it's a preservative.
Right.
It makes it last longer, makes it taste better. It keeps the formation of whatever it is, like a Pop-Tart. It helps it keep it together. Everything that is in a package, jar, or a box has some type of canola oil, peanut oil, vegetable oil. So that's kind of like, that was like the build, like for a solid 2 months, I was just throwing stuff out. I was like pouring all the like
All
canola
dramatic.
oil. Yeah. I was like, no, we can't have it. And Kelly was getting so aggravated with me. She's like, oh my God, like it's just seed oil. I was like, no. I used to like know the terms too, like carnivore MD. We used to be like, what is it?
Linoleic acid?
How do you say it? Linoleic acid?
Yes.
Yeah, I used to know all like the terms, but I don't know them anymore. But I was like, that has linoleic acid in it.
He told everybody.
Yeah.
Go to his parents' house. You can't have that. It's got
Start-
linoleic acid.
Starts throwing his parents' stuff away too.
I
You're
did.
not gonna have this. You're not gonna have this.
I did for a little bit.
Yeah.
So that, yeah, the seed oils is wild, man. And those are inflames your body. Like the seed oil started as like industry lubrication oils. And then they realized that they can add it to foods and make it for cooking oil and stuff. So anytime you go to a restaurant and you order food, they're always fried in peanut oil, canola
Yeah.
oil, or those harsh oils. So tallow is the natural oil, and you can cook it at a higher temperature. It doesn't go rancid very quickly. It lasts longer. You don't have to add anything to preserve it. So that was kind of the I guess the beginning of our tallow journey.
That was the beginning.
Yeah.
Nice.
And no.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I recently started being more conscious of reading the ingredients because I used to be like, because I tell people health and fitness are two different things. So when you're doing just fitness, you don't care about what's in it. You just care about how many calories does it have.
Yeah.
Versus health, you're like, okay, what's actually in this? Is this actually good for me? And I love pita bread, and I would buy it all the time. And I was like, I'm being healthy. And then the other day, like, since I'm trying to be better about that, I read the ingredients, and I was like, heartbroken. But so I told Juan, I need to find one that doesn't have all of this crap in it.
I think sourdough bread is like the healthiest bread.
Is it?
I think.
Yeah, remember I got it and it was the least ingredients.
Oh,
Yeah.
It was the least ingredients versus like white bread or wheat bread that was on the side of it.
Yeah.
Sourdough.
I think sourdough is like the stuff. And then now there's like carnivore bread. You can buy like carnivore bread. It's made out of like, I don't know what it's made out of. It's like bacon, I guess.
What?
I don't recommend it. I'm not a fan of that. But yeah, so like I think like we just made tallow deodorant, and deodorant in like conventional wisdom, like conventional America is like it helps me block sweat, it helps me stop sweat, it helps me smell good all day. But like that's not what really deodorant is. Like it's not like if it's a truly natural ingredient, that's not going to really help you block sweat. Not great because it just like conventional deodorant has aluminum in it and has like propylene glycol in it. It has these crazy chemicals that actually go on to your armpits and it clogs your pores so you don't sweat. That's what it's doing. So then those chemicals get into your body and it messes with your hormones and all that stuff. So there's like a detoxing period. So I really like I want to provide the deodorant because I believe in it and it's natural, and I want to provide other alternatives to conventional skincare products. But I think it's like a shift, like only a niche, like there's only a certain segment of population that are going to understand and get what it is.
Yeah, a lot of people just are like, it's whatever is marketed very well towards them, or it's like, oh, I've just always used Old Spice. Old Spice bins forever.
Right.
Not to name drop, but it's like I use Old Spice. Whatever they come out with, I'm gonna try it or this and that instead of reading what's in it.
And I
Right.
think they've gotten sued.
Yeah. Well, most things when they're mass produced, that they have to start finding
Cutting
their-
corners
Yeah.
and adding all this crazy stuff. But
I think people also have the idea that deodorant is supposed to stop you from smelling or sweating.
That's what I thought.
And it, I mean,
No.
I guess some of it does, but
it goes back to
hurting yourself.
what you were saying. If you're eating healthy, then you don't need deodorant. Like and so when I was eating
I'll
really
need
clean,
it my whole life. I will need it my whole life. I
So
sweat a lot.
So yeah, I sweat a lot too. But if I know when I'm eating really clean because my sweat doesn't stink, and I know if I'm eating dirty. Like I know if I'm eating dirty, my armpits stink after a workout. And same with like going like bowel movements, going number 2. Like if it stink, I know it sounds weird, but if it stinks, it's because you're eating crappy food. It shouldn't have a smell. And at least that's what people say.
Well,
That's interesting.
I mean, there's also like if you have a lot of protein intake,
Yeah.
then it's called protein farts. And that's a whole different topic.
That's a whole different thing.
Well, talking about smells. So you said that the one you bought from the store smelled like beef. What do you got? Because I use this myself, and it smells so good,
Really
especially
does.
the Bernilla one. That's Juan's favorite. Every
Yeah,
time I
it
put it
smells
on,
good.
he's like, "Ooh, it's like you smell good." So what do you guys do for it to not smell like beef? And yeah, what do y'all put in it to
So-
keep it natural?
the rendering process, we don't do that. We buy it already rendered, but
Which means
so to render, you get the beef
Okay.
or get the fat from the cow or whichever animal you're using, and then you have to like cook it down.
Okay.
So when you cook down the fat, you're taking out all the impurities and you're just pretty much leaving the oils. And you have to do that a few times over. And you do it with salt and water, and then you just put it in a crock pot and it like cooks it down. And when you pull out those impurities, it kind of pulls out the smell. So I've not I've not actually come across any tallow that's smelled like beef. It has like an oily smell because it is an oil base, but it
Okay.
doesn't smell like beef.
Okay.
And the one that we originally used, we're like, oh, it does smell kind of beefy. But they added that in there.
Yeah.
So, but every other one that we've had that's already been rendered, like, there's really no smell to it, just a little oily.
Okay. And then you guys have the unscented, which also doesn't smell like that. You have well, tell us all the different scents you have.
Okay, so we have Admire, which is a jasmine lavender blend. We have Orange Appeal, which is all of your
Citrus.
citruses. So there's bergamot, orange, and lemon. We have Lavensense, which is lavender and frankincense. It's one of our more popular ones. Bernilla is bergamot and vanilla. So it's like it smells like key lime pie. And then we have a sweet
that why
cream.
you like
That's why I
it?
like it.
You're over there eating it.
It smelled so good we made it into a chapstick.
Nice.
I'd be chewing on.
Well, you can take that
Like
one.
icing.
Our sweet cream is just a vanilla, and then we have a scentless one. Am I missing one?
And then your new one.
The new one, the bug one.
Oh, our Repello, which smells like citronella, but it's got citronella, lavender, and it actually smells pretty good
Yeah.
for bug repellent. So you're
Okay.
moisturized and
What's in it that keeps the bugs away?
so bugs are attracted to the carbon that comes off your body. And that's kind of how the mosquitoes find you because that carbon that you're releasing all
Oh, like
over
when
your,
you sweat, right? Like
You
that-
sweat, you
that's why-
breathe.
Yeah.
it's just, it comes out
I
everywhere.
gotta hold my breath and not sweat.
Pretty much. So I guess the point of any kind of repellent is to mask those smells. So that's what citronella, lavender,
Lemon.
lemon, all of that helps mask those smells so that they're not as attracted to you.
It's like citronella was like the Native Americans used that to like repel insects naturally, and it's got a distinctive scent to it.
Okay.
It almost does smell like DEET, like or off
Right.
when you use
That's
it.
what I was gonna ask if it was comparable with DEET because I know DEET's like
Yeah,
the-
DEET. Yeah, it kind of does. So the Repello does kind of mimic that a little bit, but it doesn't have that harsh. You know when you spray off or
Oh, yeah.
whatever, it just hits you, hits your system. You're like, oh,
everybody knows what it is. Everybody's like, who's using mosquito spray? Like,
Yeah.
Right.
very-
It's not off-putting.
it's not
It
off.
actually smells good.
Yeah, but it off does mimic that smell. Like those companies do because citronella is like the most well known natural insect repellent oil that you can get.
Okay.
So
get some.
we try to use just a little bit of each. So each scent is just like enough for you to smell it, but not be overpowering because we don't want the oils to react negatively with your skin. So we try to use as least amount as possible. That way, you get the full benefits of the prickly pear oil and the tallow with the skin benefits that like lavender provides. Like Lavensense is great for bug bites. Which we didn't really make it for that initially. We made it because we liked the way it smelled. But people are sending pictures in of them putting it on rashes, eczema. When we tried it on us for a while, Candace got bit by a bug or spider, and her eye like swelled up like pretty significantly. And we were like, all right, we'll try this. And it like within 30 minutes.
Within an hour, it went from being so super swollen because it bit her somewhere up here, and her whole eye just kind of
Like closed over.
And she came out, and I was like, "What is wrong with your face?" And so we put some on it, and like within an hour, the swelling went down.
That's
and
awesome.
we're like,
That happened like twice at our house, like
like,
two
no way.
separate occasions. We were like, okay, maybe this is like a little too good to be true. This is before we started selling it. And then like after the second time, we were like, okay, maybe we should do something here. Like
Yeah.
show this around. So we started looking at other companies, and there are a lot of other tallow companies, and some of them are really good, and some of them are natural but add a bunch of other stuff to it. So like we don't add preservatives or anything like that. So it's like 12 months. You use it for 12 months. Within the 12 months, it doesn't last forever. That's not shelf stable, and that's the point of it. It's natural. It's supposed to be used within a certain amount of time.
Okay.
But yeah, that's the
I
the
go
goal,
through
man.
it pretty quick.
I use a lot,
Yeah.
bro. Like I use a lot. But a jar like this will last me. Like I always tell people at the farmers markets, like a jar like that lasts me like 3.5 months, and I use it twice a day because I shower twice a day. So
Same. We
I
talked
sometimes
about
steal
this
it.
last.
Yeah.
I've not seen another tallow company that uses prickly pear oil.
No, I
They're
think-
all using coconut or what's the other
A
one?
lot of them use olive oil.
Olive oil.
Yeah.
Coconut or olive oil. So
But
Okay.
the reason we didn't want to go with olive oil or coconut oil is because you never know how they're actually processed. So
Okay.
olive oil can either be cold pressed or heat pressed to get the oil. And prickly pear oil has to be cold pressed. That's the only way to extract the oil. So we wanted that's with that being cold pressed, then we know we're getting a quality oil. So it's not being rancid. It's not getting heated up to this crazy temperature and getting rancid or anything like that.
I'm learning a lot right now because I didn't know about.
I think that olive oil, is it non-comedogenic? I know that prickly pear oil is not going to clog your pores.
Yeah.
But I
Okay.
think that
Olive oil is
olive oil and coconut oil are
Oh,
on
that's true. I
a
read that.
higher rating, so they are more apt to clog your pores.
Well, you had that. Remember when you were using the coconut oil?
Yeah, yeah. It had because I would use coconut oil to take off my makeup, and it would, it would clog my pores.
Yep.
And then so whenever you guys came out with it, so I used all three products, and I remember I asked you, I was like, "Can I put this on my face?" And that's what I use now. I use it on my face. I use it on my body, and that's what I wanted to have you guys come on here because this is something that Juan and I personally use. We've used it. We like it. So you have three products right now. You have the tallow butter, you have the chapsticks, and you have the deodorant.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
Is the Repello like its own thing?
I mean,
That
it's like that was our first like product that's geared to do something. So we want to make like a face one that was like lavender and peppermint that's made for acne or like to help like fight acne because lavender is amazing at like fighting inflammatory properties on your skin
Right.
and peppermint's really good at like a natural acne preventer.
Like a stringent kind of.
Right. But it all goes back to like food. So like this isn't miracle stuff. It's just better than anything that you're going to buy at the store. But it all goes back to food. Like I think it starts there. Like what you're putting in your body, like it's got to go somewhere, right? It's either going to come down south or it's going to come through your skin. Like
Yeah, my daughter is learning that the hard way right now. I mean, she's kind of known it, but now she's starting to like realize the impact that actually what you eat has on your body. And she's 15, so she's gonna have acne and stuff. But we eat pretty clean. Like we don't eat stuff out of a box. We don't buy canned vegetables. Like it's frozen or fresh.
Okay.
And she's at her dad's all summer, and they eat out of a box. They eat canned. They go out to fast food places all the time. They drink a lot of soda. And she's only been there for 3 weeks maybe now.
Yeah.
And she's already breaking out all over the place. Like I call her and I'm like, "Hey, what's that on your face?" And she's like, "No." She's like, "What can I eat that'll stop this?" She's like, "Is fruit good? Is fruit going to make it go away?" And I said, "Well, it's not going to make it go away." I said, "But if you're drinking a ton of soda and you're eating a bunch of processed stuff that has sugar, whether you think it has sugar or not, it does." I was like, "It's going to come out through your face
Yeah.
and everywhere else." I said, "So stop drinking so much soda. Maybe have one on the weekend.
Yeah.
Drink more water." I was like, "Try to eat more fresh vegetables." Like,
And that's so good that you're teaching her this at that age.
yeah.
That way, like, she's super young. So she still has the rest of her life to live a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah.
I wish I was taught that at a young age. My skin would look 10 times better than it does now. It doesn't look bad,
I was
but
going to say it looks good.
it doesn't look bad, but like there's so many
I think your skin looks beautiful too.
Thank you. Thank you.
but there's so
It's a
many
talent.
so many things I could have done differently that would have had a better effect on how my skin is now. So I want
Right.
her to know that stuff to make those better informed decisions about what she's eating, and I also want her to live longer
For sure.
and not get diabetes and
Yeah.
whatever else comes from eating crap.
For sure.
But I'm glad you guys are teaching them and that you guys are, because it's not very common for people to think this way.
Mm-mm. Especially in the like where I grew up in the Hispanic culture, my family they didn't think like that. It's like food is food. We eat tortillas, we eat rice, we eat beans. Like we eat I guess the lard is probably good. Like that's a good fat we can consume. But yeah, we didn't really think like that, and no one in my family really thinks that way. So I'm kind of like the black sheep of the family. Whenever I go and we stay, it's kind of like, oh crap, John and his meat, John and his tallow. It's
Hide
like,
all the oils.
yeah, hide all the oils, and it's like, and it's kind of like they like, are you sure you don't want this? Like, you sure you don't want this? Like, no, I don't want it. Like, and it didn't click for me for 30 years. And now that it's clicked, I want my kids to. I feel like my first daughter is 12 years old, and I feel like I poisoned her for the first 12 years of her life. I'm like, I like killed her. So she's kind of a lost cause. I got two young ones, and I can kind of help
Just starting
them.
over.
Yeah, just starting over with the young ones. But yeah, that's like it's like exactly what you said. Starting early, and maybe they won't follow it. Maybe they'll do whatever they want, but at least they'll have like.
No, I feel like even if they do fall off eventually, because my mom she wasn't super strict, but she'll be like, she'll go into like this natural little phases, and then growing up now, I compare myself to one, and not to expose you or anything, but I do eat healthier. Like I have a healthier mindset, and it's because my mom would have those random natural faces versus someone who was never exposed to that as a
Yeah,
kid.
absolutely. I mean, I grew up with my mom would make fried type of food all the time. She would use lard. Like the pan's this deep, we'd have this much oil in there cooking, because it adds more flavor to her.
Yeah.
Like there was like no nutritional value growing up, and I stepped away from that, and like getting into fitness and everything and working out, kind of made me see like, hey, like we eat really bad at the house, but it was never that, hey, this is nutritional value. It was never for health. Once I started going into that, I was like, if I can make it fit into what I need my numbers to be for fitness, either the way I want to look, or if I was competing in powerlifting and the way I wanted certain, macros or whatever it is that I was trying to accomplish, that's what I would focus on. It wasn't health. And then it's when Brianna really got into it, like, well, just being with her and then, her getting more into it, like health was more of a thing. And I'm like, for how she said earlier, fitness and health is different. And I was always very fitness oriented. And now it's like with health, it's like, oh, like there is things that we need to change.
Yeah.
And just be healthier and, overall.
You gotta like think how our parents grew up too. Is that that was when the food pyramid came around, and the government was saying like this is the right way to eat. This is you eat the grains, at the top of the pyramid or whatever, and you eat rice, blah blah blah, and then no, that was at the bottom because that was the most
Yeah,
you
that
eat,
was the big
right?
one.
Yeah, so you mostly eat bread and grains and blah blah blah, and it turns out that there's like proven articles that the sugar industry paid the government to say that red meat's bad.
I believe that 100%.
Yeah,
I
100%.
believe
No,
that too,
I mean, yeah, it's 100%. Like those, that exists. So they were told a lie their entire lives. So they told us this is what they learned. So now when we go back to them and we're like, hey, what you learned is not that's not right, and they're like, come on, bro, that's right. Or you always get, do your parents say like, oh, I've been eating this way my entire life and I'm fine?
Yeah.
Do they say that? I'm
No.
still alive. I do this.
No, my mom, she'll be like, she'll listen, but she loves tortillas. Like that's her weakness. Like the doctor has even told her, you have to stop eating them, and then she'll be like, okay, and then she goes home and she eats.
She has one in her purse.
But she'll try, and then she's like, I've been doing really good, and then another day I'll talk to her. She's like, oh, I'm not doing good. Like I'm just eating whatever I want.
It's
So
so
it's like a
hard.
battle.
It's hard when
Yeah.
you're, for me, transitioning into this lifestyle, it was
Yeah,
hard.
yeah, because you grew up that's what you're doing for so many years.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
my cereal at night.
Bro.
And it's
It's
more
so
of it becomes more of a task too.
Yeah.
Just the simple thing of reading, seeing what you're reading before you buy it versus like, oh, I've always bought this. Because I got HEB down. I can walk to that grocery store and tell you almost where everything's at. But now, like, it's like, she's like, would you read it? I'm like, hold on. Like, let me put it back. Let me look for something different. So it's more of a task too. It's more work that you end up doing. I mean, once you start doing it for a while, you'll get better at it. But it's something different, transition. It's more work and more effort has to be put into it.
Have y'all heard the saying like all the food is on the outside?
Oh, like
Not-
on the outskirts of
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like don't there's no beneficial, no nutritional food on the inside.
Yeah.
All the food's on the outside.
Yeah.
But
Except for
like-
maybe beans and rice. But other
Yeah.
than that,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's some one-offs, but
Yeah.
But even so, tell us what you learned about cheese.
Oh yeah, like grated cheese has a.
Let's not talk about this. No, I'm just kidding. I don't want to know. No.
This isn't. Oh, it's not all bad. It's just, the easily accessible cheese.
Yeah, like cheese is good. If you buy the block cheese and grate it yourself, that's fine. But if you get the grated cheese, which I didn't even know, it has was it?
I don't know what it's called, but it's
Broken.
Is it
It's
glucose?
something that makes it not stick together, and it's not good for you.
Okay.
Yeah, it's packed with this stuff to make it
So-
non-stick, basically. So then that is going in your stomach, causing like inflammation, gut
Oh,
microbiome.
so it'll cause a liner, and you don't absorb the nutrients you need from your food as well.
Yeah, but it just wrecks your gut microbiome too. Like just wrecks it. So cheese, like people think cheese is bad, but cheese is actually pretty good. So now we've been buying grated cheese, and I'm just like,
What about like nacho cheese? Like, go get some. No, I'm just
can I still get some of that?
Oh, fructose corn syrup was another one.
Oh.
Oh yeah,
Trying
that's
to
another
find
thing,
stuff that doesn't have that in it is like almost impossible.
bro. It's in like chips. Like, how do you get it in chips?
Yeah.
it's in everything.
everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really is.
It's probably in these microphones. You never know.
You remember the one time you asked for honey?
Yeah, that's when my parents really hated me because I was just really hardcore into the diet thing. I don't call it a diet. Now I call it a way of life. But like when I was like transitioning, I was like, hey, can I have some honey? Because I was putting honey on my burgers. So I put
You put honey on everything.
I put honey on everything. I got overwhelmed. I don't do that now because I don't have a stop. Like I don't know how to stop myself. But my mom handed me honey, and it was what was it? It was like
Well,
high fructose corn
what
syrup.
he did is he poured it on his stuff, not thinking, because honey, like how do you?
It was in a bottle. It was the bear. It was like honey, and I was like, it looks a little different. And then I ate it, and I was like, this isn't honey. Like I knew automatically.
Yeah, you
And
can taste the difference.
Yeah, I looked at it, and it was like high fructose corn syrup, and I was like, oh god, I threw it away.
Yeah, his parents they definitely get annoyed with us because I even go through like I bring my own stuff.
Yeah, bring your own groceries into the house.
But we bring our own. We bring a ice chest.
Well, we buy stuff too, so that we're not just
Munching off
eating
things.
all their food when we go, because we go for like a week or two at a time. But so I've been bringing our own stuff that doesn't have high fructose corn syrup. Lots of fruit for the babies to eat because his parents just want to shove cookies and candy.
Yeah, it's
in
like
them.
grandma and grandpa. Like they want to give
Yeah.
cookies. And my mom's like, oh, you need to feed your babies. I'm like, my babies like look good. Like they're smarter than I am. It's because I feed them better than you fed me.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how I'm alive. And, like, we just go back and forth. So, but
That's so funny. But talking about making the changes, I know recently you said you've been having a lot of like sweet.
Oh my
a sweet
gosh.
tooth.
And it might be because next week is supposed to be that time of the month. So
Ah,
like
yeah.
I'm just
Do dark chocolate.
annoyed with stuff,
Me too.
mad about stuff.
No way.
Is it
Like
his time of the month?
yeah, mine too.
it's like up and down. So all last week and all this week, I just want something sweet. But I found some sugar-free, fat-free, which
Yeah.
probably isn't good for me either, but
Yeah. But
it's
at
better
least-
than the alternative.
Yeah. And you said you made, what was it, like a pie?
It was pudding.
Pudding. Okay.
Sugar-free, fat-free pudding.
Okay.
And I added some cream cheese in there to make it taste more like cheesecake.
I didn't see this. Where is this at? Where?
I didn't tell you about it.
Okay, I have to go
But if
find
you
that.
look in the cabinet, it's in there. But we don't really have like snacks at our house either.
Okay,
Like
good.
we snack on fruit, and once in a blue moon we'll let the babies have gummies or something actually sweet. But most of the time our snacks is like fruit.
Good.
So
That's good.
She's been doing really good. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say I can see the definition in your arm.
thank you.
I always told her she's like one of those people that like my little brother can go in the gym and just like kick a weight and look at it and then get an 8-pack. And I think that she's like one of those people. She can just like not even like really try and like look good. Whereas me, like I have to like really try to stare at the weight really hard and internalize like I'm one with the weight.
The muscle it's gonna put on you.
Yeah. So it's from manifestation somehow.
That's so funny. Wait, before I forget, Juan had a slogan for your deodorant.
Oh, dude, what is it?
Oh, I was like, you can live like a hippie, but not smell like a hippie.
Oh my god, dude,
Yeah.
that is good.
You know what? Our next one we can name it that.
What, hippie?
No.
What?
Instead of like this one's La Vanilla. Instead of La Vanilla, we can.
It's trademark. I need my royalties.
Dude, we can do that. It's gonna be. We
But
want
it
to do like a
smells
more
good.
like manlier That's kind
You
of
smelled it?
that's pretty like womanly.
It's good. It smells strong and it works.
Yeah.
When we worked out together, then I put it on going to work.
Oh yeah, did you use it?
forgot.
Yeah.
Does it stain your shirts?
No, it didn't
No?
stain my shirt.
Okay, good.
Did it stain
Well,
your shirt?
well, we gave it to a friend to try, and apparently he's a like
Excessive sweater.
excessive sweater more than me, which is crazy because I sweat a lot. And it supposedly like stained one of his shirts, but supposedly he sweats
Was the
a
bed sheet.
bunch. Yeah, it was a bed sheet.
I really think that maybe he was just he like put it on and then
Well, how
like
much did he
had
put on?
I don't know.
well, I think he like maybe had his arm off of the bed and his pit was just right there, and so maybe the oils transferred. But
Well,
I think his sheet was dirty before. Now he's just trying to put
he's
it on.
trying to he's trying to blame.
He's trying to get some new sheets.
Well, I don't know. So he supposedly like I wanted him to try it because this person is like a really excessive sweat. He's like, dude, nothing worked. Even like Old Spice doesn't work. Like none of this stuff works. He tries to use natural stuff, but it like never works. He has like a blow dryer next to his
What the heck?
next to his nightstand because he uses a spray deodorant. It's the only thing that kind of helps. So he'll spray it and then blow dry his armpits before.
But that's hot air though. Wouldn't that make him sweat?
That's what I thought.
cold air.
I don't know if it's cold or hot.
okay.
What he uses, but
I hope
yeah.
he
So I was
uses
wondering
hot.
because it doesn't stain like I wore white, gray, black. I would go work out hardcore and then come inside and tell Kelly to smell my armpits, and
So gross.
but it didn't stain my shirts. I was like, okay,
Yeah, it hasn't stained any.
The
of mine
R&D
either,
department always
so.
gets it the hardest.
I know, right? Yeah, there's a lot of R&D going on. But we want to make one that's like a sandalwood. Have you ever smelled sandalwood before?
Yeah.
Okay, sandalwood, cedar wood,
That'd be
and
good.
a little bit of pine.
Yeah.
So it smells like a little manly
little-
smell.
Yeah, because I put it on. I went to work and I was in the control room and I was like, I could smell because I had my button up on top
Yeah.
for my work shirt and I could smell it coming up through me and I was like,
Smells
it smells like I
girl.
just lathered myself in a lotion because we had
But
just
that's
got done.
good.
Well,
I mean, not for a girl. I mean, not for a
But
guy.
I mean the fact that you can smell it and it smells good and it's not off-putting and
Oh,
you
yeah.
don't stink, like that's awesome.
but I was just like, I'm sure the guy next to me on the board can smell me.
Yeah.
And he's probably like, what were you doing before this? Why do you
Yeah.
smell like so much like lotion or just like,
You're like-
it was like really strong.
You're just like,
But
it's tallow.
But it was like it was good because it lasted the whole night, and it was as soon as I put it on, it didn't feel like that layer that gets on from other deodorants.
Yeah, like
Like-
you feel something there.
Yeah, like a film almost from the other deodorants, and it was good. It was a good experience.
That's cool to hear. I think everyone's gonna like feel different about it.
Yeah,
Because obviously everybody's different. Everyone's on a different health path. You're probably far ahead from other people. Your body's like less toxic. You're not like spewing toxins out of your body. So I think everyone's gonna feel different about it. But it doesn't feel like I think we need to do like an educational like campaign almost like what it is, what to expect from it.
Yeah.
Because it's not the fact that it doesn't have aluminum, like we can't compete with that. You know what I mean?
I was thinking when we were at the farmer's market, there was this lady that came and they were so excited about the deodorant. And she was talking about how the other deodorants, like she switched to more natural because I think it's the aluminum and I don't know what it does. But have you ever used the other kind and like your armpits have like these weird phantom pains?
No.
I think it's something to do with the aluminum blocking your pores. But like I've had it and I'm like, oh yeah. I mean, it's been a while because I haven't used it, but like it'll be weird. It'll be like a pinching pain in your armpit.
That's probably from the army. You need to get out. We need to use that clip and then send that in to get our royalty on it.
Hey, it could be.
This episode was brought to you by BCN Supplements, our all-natural supplement company. First off, we have our hydrolyzed collagen. This is a 4-in-1. It comes with vitamin C for better absorption, hyaluronic acid, and biotin. So this is good for your skin, your hair, your nails, and your joints. And this is for both men and women. Next up, we have our immunity, which is a 7-in-1 vitamin. It has vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, echinacea, elderberry, black pepper, and garlic bulb. So this will give your immune system that extra boost. And lastly, we have our natural pre-workout. It does have 325 milligrams of natural caffeine from green tea. It is sweetened with stevia, and its purpose is energy, focus, and endurance. And for our listeners, we do have a discount code. If you visit our website, www.bcnsupps.com, you can use code BUILT, B-U-I-L-T, for 10% off. Thank you so much for listening. So the company, just wanted to say, it is veteran-owned, minority-owned,
Yeah.
all the things.
My wife's the boss.
Female-owned.
She's a veteran. That's funny. At the farmers markets, everyone assumes that I'm the veteran. They're like, "Hey, what branch you in?" I'm like, "Wasn't me, bro. It was my wife." And they're like,
And I pop up and I'm like,
they
hey.
kind of look and they're like, "Really?" I'm like, yeah, "I just wear her shorts sometimes, but that's it."
He does. He does. He likes running in them.
When I go run with her shorts in the park, everyone's like, "Hey, thank you for your service." And it's like, I don't want to stop, so I just like acknowledge. I don't say thank you, so I'm not lying. I just say, "Hey."
It's gonna slowly transition to where you're gonna be running around and like all geared out and
David
everything.
Goggins style. Like it turns into like I was in the Marines or something.
So we talked about you guys owning the business, being parents, having full-time jobs, and then also you mentioned organic versus regenerative. I struggle with this.
It's a
word.
hard word, regenerative.
Regenerative.
You can call it
Agriculture.
resilience too. That's like a new term coming.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. So tell us a little bit more about what you're doing with the nonprofit, the documentary.
Okay, so it started from a podcast that my buddy and I still kind of did, and then I do a podcast, and I got obsessed with regenerative agriculture. We went out to this place called Rome Ranch in Fredericksburg, Texas, and I've been a part. Like my family's been in agriculture my entire life. We raised cattle, we raised hay, we've like tilled fields, and I was like, I am a farmer. I know what's going on. So we went out to this ranch, and I was like, this young guy who's my age, him and his wife started this company called Epic. It's a protein bar. And they sold that company to General Mills, and then they used that money to buy this ranch, and now they're partnering with other clean regenerative ranches to supply clean hormone-free meat to the rest of the world, to the United States. And I wanted to learn about regenerative agriculture because it's like saving the climate. And I was like, oh, that sounds cool. So I went and learned about regenerative agriculture. And basically, it's like there's like 6 principles to regenerative agriculture. And the main ones are like protect the soil, know where you're farming, and like don't use hormones and pesticides on the land. And he was talking, I was like, oh, I didn't know. I thought you had to use this stuff on your farming, right? Like I thought you know, he was talking about the differences between like organic and industrialized agriculture and the benefits of each. And that kind of like opened my eyes. So I was like, oh, like, okay, so me getting the meat from the store is not like I could do better than that. There's this other way to get meat too. So that kind of like started an obsession with like knowing where we're getting our meat from. Right? That was kind of like the first conversation that kind of spawned everything.
And it all ties back into what you eat. So if you think you're eating clean and you're getting stuff that's got pesticides and hormones and stuff, it's not really clean.
So he was talking about like, so he raises bison at his ranch, and he was talking about how bisons are the keystone species and how they're important and how they can positively influence the climate, our ecosystem, and community. And he's just a great storyteller. So we did that podcast, and I was like, man, I want to learn more about this. So I started reading about soil health. And supposedly right now, experts say we have like 50 to 60 more years of topsoil. So that means 50 to 60 more years of crops, supposedly. That's what the experts say across the world. So in 50 to 60 more years, the United States could possibly look like Africa, where you can't grow crops. Oh, wow. It can be pretty, it's like scary. So I reached back out to Taylor, and I asked, I was like, hey, who's a soil scientist? How can I learn about soil? He connected me with this girl named Andy, and she runs a company called Soil is Sexy. And she goes around and helps farmers optimize their soil health. Farmers optimize soil health, and she can like test soil and say what kind of amendments you need, what kind of inputs you could use to naturally improve soil health. So then I was like, all right, well, I want to talk about like who's the king of regenerative agriculture, and this guy named Gabe Brown. He's on this documentary called Kiss the Ground. So we watched that documentary, and I was like, oh my God, this is really cool.
Literally.
And I was like, I watched it like 4 times, like every night, like 4 times over and over again. And I was like, oh man, I want to talk to Gabe Brown. So I reached out to Gabe Brown, and he was like, yeah, I'll do a podcast with you. So we did a podcast. It was like 45 minutes, and he blew my mind. And I was like, man, I want to keep learning about this. And I was driving to work one day, hating my job, and I was like, man, how do I leave my job? Like, I don't want to do this. I want to do something else. And I was like, just want to do the podcast about agriculture. And I was just thinking in my head, like, okay, do I do a farming agriculture podcast? Like, what do I do? And I was like, oh, I'll just do a documentary. So then that's kind of what started the journey. So I put this plan. I don't know anything about documentary. So I Google or YouTube, how do you start a documentary? And it said, like, it gave you, like, this guy was like, you do like 3 things. You build a pitch deck and you get a film crew together. And then I was like, Kelly, you take pictures. You're the director of photography. And then I built this like pitch deck, and I reached out to 3 people that I had on the podcast. Taylor was one of them. And Taylor is, he's like a goat in the industry. He's like well known. He's a like very good storyteller. So I was really nervous when I reached out to him about doing a documentary, because I don't know anything about documentary. I was pretty transparent. I was like, I feel passionate about this. And then I reached out to Andy, and then I reached out to this doctor named Allie Cohen, who's like a profession. She's how do you say what she is? Because I can't say the word.
When he first did that, he told me she's a rheumatoid arthritis.
Oh my
And
god.
I'm like,
That's just the mess because that coming
at
out of me,
first I
bro.
was like, well, first off, that's not how you say
like, I don't think
rheumatoid
that
arthritis.
exists.
Yeah.
I said, and I don't think she's a rheumatoid arthritis person.
What is it? What is it though?
I don't remember how you say it. It's close to that, but it is not.
Anyway, she specializes in inputs in the body, environmental toxins that impact the human body. So she looks at glyphosate, chemicals that we spray on crops. We had her on the podcast. She did a couple of big TED Talks. And when I was looking at soil health and like crop, there's this study that came out that 80% of people have detectable amounts of glyphosate in their urine. Everyone that they tested have a concerning, quote unquote, I don't know what that level is, but concerning level of glyphosate, which is glyphosate's used to spray on crops. So I talked to her about it. We talked to her on the podcast. So those are the first 3 people that reached out. I was kind of expecting them to say no, like, no, I don't want to do this. And all of them said yes. And I was like,
oh, that's awesome.
Okay. I was like, okay, cool. So I got 3 people. I just need like a film crew, and I just need some more people. So I started, just deep diving every day. Like I was reading months and months of like reading. Like I got my folder of regenerative agriculture. Like I got contacts. I got like all this stuff. And I started reaching out to people, and everyone was saying yes. They never met me in my entire life. But then I realized that everyone in the industry knows each other, like all these prominent figures in regenerative agriculture.
Makes sense.
So some of these people that I was reaching out to, they're like, yeah, I heard you talk to so-and-so last week. And I was like, oh, okay. Kind of getting around a little bit. All right. And
Started feeling himself.
I know. I was like, all right. I was like, well, you know Tom, right? Yeah, me and Tom are good. Yeah, me and Tom. Yeah, I talked to Tom last week. Anyway, I talked to this one guy at Michigan State University. They're very prominent in regenerative agriculture. They work with Gabe Brown. There's this big farm in Georgia called White Oak Pastures. They did this big study at White Oak Pastures that showed that his farm is carbon neutral, meaning they're not emitting any carbon at all. They're sequestering as much carbon as they're putting out.
You should explain what that means.
I would really butcher it. So basically,
It's kind of cool.
soil and plants sequester carbon. They bring those environmental pollutants out of the atmosphere naturally, and they absorb that and they put that in the soil. Like an industrialized farm doesn't do that because there's no roots, there's no crops. You need animals to do that. And regenerative agriculture and moving animals around, that's one of the principles, like constantly moving the herd, just like how they would do it in a natural setting without being fenced. So a lot of these ranches have like fences where they call paddocks. So there's like paddock 1, they move the animals to paddock 1, leave them there for a certain amount of time, then they move up to paddock 3. And it's supposed to mimic nature as closely as possible, which can never be done, but it's as perfect as it's going to get. So regenerative agriculture fights climate by sequestering carbon out of the atmosphere, putting it in the ground, and it's a cycle. So just because it's pulling carbon from the atmosphere, it doesn't stay there forever. It goes in a cycle. I don't know how I got there, but okay. So Michigan State University, I was talking to Dr. Jason Roundtree, which is like a prominent figure in the science community of regenerative agriculture. And he said, "Hey, who's funding this documentary?" And at this point, I have like 12 people that have agreed to be part of the documentary. And I was like, I don't know. I was like, independent, bro. And he's like, okay, cool. He's like, well, have you thought about getting funding to do this? And I was like, no. I was like, I don't know how to do that. What do you mean funding? He's like, yeah, you can crowdfund. You can do this stuff. He's like, most documentaries are funded through nonprofits. And I was like, oh, okay. So I reach out to a nonprofit. He goes, oh, or you can start your nonprofit. So I was like, okay. So that was like November last year. And I walked out and I was like, hey, I talked to Jason Roundtree. I was really excited about talking to this guy because this guy is like the king. Like everyone told me that I was talking to, they're like, hey, have you talked to Jason Roundtree? They're always talking about him. So got off the phone. I went to Kelly. I was like, hey, I think I'm going to start a nonprofit. And
I just get dragged along. Like I don't have a choice whether I want to or not. I eventually have to learn.
So then I was
whatever
like,
he's doing.
So then I was like, okay, so how do you start a 501c3 nonprofit? So then it's not very hard. It is hard in the beginning if you don't know, and I still really don't know the process, but I just kind of weaved my way in. And so the point of the nonprofit, it's called Our Sustainable Footprint. The point of the nonprofit is to, right now it's going to fund the documentary. That's like the first phase of the work. And in that process of funding the documentary, we're going to have this amazing footage of all these farmers, of all these soil scientists talking about ways that can positively impact the climate, whether it's through agriculture, whether it's through community relationships, building community up, because that's like one of the things of regenerative agriculture. It's really building up the community around these farmers and making the communities more resilient. During COVID, right, all of our grocery stores were empty, right? We didn't have any groceries. That's because we were relying on food from other countries. And regenerative agriculture is all about really building up and supplying the local community through agriculture. Like everyone should know. There's this crazy stat that 95% of Americans have never been on a farm, right? So people in regenerative agriculture want people to come to these farms. Like Taylor at Rome Ranch, they have these conferences where they bring people and they let them do like a bison harvest, and they're introducing people to animals, agriculture, knowing where their food comes from. So my idea is do the documentary, but we have this amazing footage. Like right now we've gone to 2 places. We have about 9 hours of footage. Really only like 30 minutes from each of those places are going to make the documentary, if that, right? Mm-hmm. So use that footage to provide training and like a know-how, like a training program for ranchers that want to transition from industrialized agriculture to regenerative. Because right now there's more and more companies and nonprofits that are coming about and helping farmers. But if you're an industrialized model, if you're a monoculture, if you're only growing corn, which is like if you got 100 acres and you're only growing corn, that's industrialized agriculture. That's not what nature is supposed to look like. That's not what, that's just not natural, right? Mm. So they want to transition. These farmers want to transition to a more sustainable way of agriculture, but there's really not a way to do it. They can pay to go to the conferences and these training programs, or you can start a nonprofit and you can provide trainings for free. That's awesome. So that's kind of what I want to do is do this documentary, put it out. The goal is like a large streaming provider. I want to make this available for everyone. And I really think like the goal of the documentary is to provide information to people like us who aren't in agriculture, like tips on how they can make an impact, right? Because I think like from our daily lives, we're all so busy. We care about the climate, obviously. We care about where our food comes from, obviously. But sometimes we get wrapped up and we don't really know how to make an impact. Mm-hmm. So the goal is to talk to these experts learn how to make an impact with us and then provide that with the people. That's the goal of the documentary. Then use the other footage that we have and provide these trainings for free for farmers that want to transition from industrialized agriculture to regenerative, a more sustainable way of agriculture. So that's like the agriculture aspect of it. And then I also want to tackle, since I work in a company that makes plastics, plastic waste, microplastics, I want to fight. I don't even know if fight's the right word. I want to help shift policy as it relates to plastic and plastic waste. So the nonprofit's called Our Sustainable Footprint. And to me, that encompasses everything, whether it's agriculture, environmental pollution, it's everything. But agriculture and microplastics are near and dear to my heart. So those are like the two. It's a long-winded answer, but that's like
that's really good.
that's like the two main purposes.
It means well.
Yeah.
We
No,
told
that's-
y'all he's out here saving the world. Y'all believe us?
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah. But talking about manifestation earlier, I'm going to go into that a little bit because Juan and I had talked about we wanted to have a nonprofit, but we didn't know what, how, anything. And then out of nowhere you come, you ask him to be on the board. My podcast touches on the 7 dimensions of wellness, and I was like, I don't know anything about environmental, and here you are now talking to us about the environment. So I think that's really cool.
It's dope. Yeah.
Yeah.
I am a believer of manifestation. I used it twice in my life for jobs that I wanted. And it wasn't like I just thought like, oh, I need this job, so I'm like thinking that I want this job all the time. I did things up until the point to make it real that why I got the positions. And I used manifestation, but I didn't know what it was until I listened to Rob Deerdeck. You listen to Rob Deerdeck?
Yeah.
Dude.
Optimize.
Dude,
You gotta
if
optimize everything.
Dude, when I listen to Rob Deerdeck, I'm gonna start a company every time. Like, so I was like, oh, that's what I did with those like 2 positions. So in my head, I'm like, okay, I can use what I did for like Dow for another company for something that I really want to do, and that's what it like. I won't go a day without talking about biodiversity, the documentary, tallow, or anything like that. I won't go a day. I'm gonna speak it because I really believe in it, and I think that with the people, like I'm just like a way of like taking the people that have all the information, because I don't have I'm not an expert.
Right.
I'm just obsessed with it, but I'm not an expert. But I can use these other people that are experts and help share their message.
Yeah, you're kind of bridging it because like these people have the information, and then there's people who want to know, but they're like, how do we connect with these people?
Right.
So the whole nonprofit and documentary is the bridge. You're bridging that gap between them, and you're doing it in a way that attracts people. A lot of people like watching things. A lot of people like long form content and cinematic stuff. So that's what all that's actually doing, and it's really cool.
I appreciate that. Yeah, man, that's fun time. So yeah, I don't know what the timeline is. I had a really aggressive timeline that I wanted to finish by the end of the year, but talking to a few people, they're like, hey, slow down, pump your brakes, take your time with it. So yeah, we've filmed two different ranches. We got 16 more to go. So, and it's what is it, June? End of June?
It's rough.
Yeah. So I hope to be done with it like middle of next year. So we'll start like releasing some teasers and some trailers and stuff like that. So
Yeah, how she said that, I had actually, we did a vision board because, we believe in manifestation. And the power of it, I had just put nonprofit on there. And then I think it was the day after,
It was crazy. Yeah. Like,
literally the day after, I
Yeah.
believe you called me.
I was telling Kelly, like, I want to surround myself with people that are doing great things, like that are motivated. And I was like, I was always like talking about like y'all. I was like, man, like I don't
Kelly,
want
I
to.
need to hook up around.
I was like, you befriend
call me.
Brianna, I'll befriend Juan, and then we'll just like we'll vibe off each other. But I was like, I don't want to be creepy, and because we really didn't know each other, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, I love everything that they're doing with BCN. Like I love it.
Thank you.
I'm a believer, and like that's why we had you on the podcast to begin with. Like, I'm not sound like a stalker, but we followed you for a while, and we're like, oh man, it's like a different kind of supplement company. It's like not just like. It's like about health and wellness, not just about like, hey, get a pre-workout in or something. You know what I mean? So I've been following it for a while, and then I like been following y'all for ever since then. And I was like, how do we like I want to surround myself with people like that. And I know that's how you like you excel in life and like
Right.
you build community. how do I do that? And like Kelly was just like, I don't know. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna ask. I'm just gonna call him. I'm just gonna call him and ask him if he wants to be on the board. Like I was like, I need 3 board members.
For a couple of days, he's like, should I call him?
Yeah.
I don't want to be creepy. Should I? He's like, we need to surround ourselves with people that are good, because you are what you eat. You are who you
Your
surround
thoughts?
yourself with.
Yeah, I was like,
He's
you know
like-
what? I'm
He's
just
walking
gonna.
around the house just saying the same thing over and over.
I was seriously, and then I came back in and I was like, he said to think about it, but I think he's like vibing with it. I think he like.
Dude, yeah. Like, as soon as you called me, I was like, it was out of the blue, kind of like you said. It wasn't creepy at all, so you weren't
A little
creepy.
bit.
But it was like I think I was really taken back because I think I was big on the podcast of Lewis House and listening to Manifestation and The Secrets and all that, and we had watched it. She's like, we need to do a new vision board because we've been doing it, and it's crazy. Like, you know, kind of going back to that, we've marked off a lot of things on our vision board, and we'll be like, oh, whoa, we knocked this, and it's pretty cool when you can sit there and start crossing things off.
I was gonna say I've gone so far to like that's my wallpaper, my vision board on
That's
my phone.
dope.
So every time I open my phone, I see it.
Well, now I'm gonna do that. So
My wallpaper is Mia picking her nose.
that's acceptable.
John's got all. I'm very go with the flow. I don't have any big plans. Like I'm simple.
But I feel like that's why you guys work.
Yeah,
He is
absolutely.
Like that, you guys are the perfect match.
He is. He
Yeah.
I just go with whatever he does.
There's I realize
part.
there's like if I'm busy, passionate about doing what I want to do, I'm happy. But
Yeah.
there for like through a while, like my company, my job was my life, and that's all I did, and I wasn't really happy.
Yeah.
So now like I'm doing these things, podcast, documentary, whatever it is, like the business, like these are the things I'm passionate about, and I'm happy.
Yeah, that's awesome. A lot of people don't find that. A lot of
No.
people just are like,
Yeah.
oh, we're not supposed to enjoy our work. We just work to do our lives, this and that. And when you can bridge those two, it's something special.
And I heard like I'm hearing these things, like I asked myself, would I do if we weren't making any money with Signature? Would I still do it? And the answer is yes, because it's providing something beneficial to people. Same with the documentary. Like Netflix is the goal, 100%. But if we put it on YouTube and it reaches people, I'm happy with that because I believe in it. And I like it sounds funny, but coming from Ice Cube, he says if you're not, there's some podcast he was on. He's like, if you're not willing to do something for 5 to 10 years for 25 cents, he's like, you don't love doing it. And I was like, whew, save that video, watch it every day.
Kelly,
You
watch
wake up,
this.
it's your alarm when you wake up.
Just straight up, dude. I'm like, okay, well, yeah, that's what I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also, like, going back to when you called me, I didn't want to be like, yeah. And I'm like, I was like, let me think about it. Because I was
Yeah.
like, if I'm going to do this, I'm not going to be like, oh, I'm on the board. Like, I want to actually be involved in it. I actually want to know what I'm saying yes to. I actually wanted to do research on it because it was new to me. And then, like, I've been learning more and more as I go. I've been using TikTok a lot.
Yeah, dude, TikTok's good, bro.
Yeah, and I've been using that. I listened to some of the podcasts you had, and then I was just learning more and more about it. And I would talk to her about it, and she's like, "Well, like, do it. Like, you're liking it, you're learning about it, and it's like it's something good." And I was like, Jon seems like a solid dude. And then you sent me everything, and I was like, he has this all right. Right as soon as you sent it to me, I was like, oh, he's ready, like 100% ready to do all this. So I was like, yeah, absolutely, I'll do it because it's something cool. And then you see the passion, especially even right now, like people are gonna see when they're listening to this. Like you were talking, and then you was like, all right, now it's like this is what I'm super passionate about, and everything's really coming out. So it's awesome to see. And I mean, I'm glad to be a part of it.
I appreciate it. I'm glad you're part of it too. Means a lot to me. Means a lot.
No, but that means a lot to us too. Sorry. I was just gonna say like we were actually just talking about that the other day. I was listening to a video on YouTube and they were talking about how basically you are like the 5 people you surround yourself with. So they're like, if you want to be successful, then you need to surround yourself with successful people, and they will bring you up because you're in their environment.
Yeah.
So,
What is that saying? Like tides raise all boats, or tides raise all ships, or something like that. You know
I
it?
hadn't heard that one.
I have no idea. All I
No.
know is we surround ourselves with twins, 4-year-old twins. So
But
we're
like
crazy all
the
the time.
tides raise all ships. So like if
that
you're
makes
doing
sense.
if you're doing well,
Yeah.
then and I'm around you, I will have to do well. There's just no way
Yeah.
around it.
Yeah.
Right? Like if I'm doing well, like you're gonna do well.
Yeah, it's
Motivate
like
each other.
what everybody heard this as growing up when you're choosing your friends, and that's like, tell me who your friends are, I'll tell you who you are. Like the
Yeah.
people you surround yourself with is gonna, like, they influence you whether you believe it or not. Even if you're like a very alpha person and you dominate a lot of influence, when you surround yourself, like the people start taking away from you. It has to be mutualism. So people have to take away and give back. It can't just be giving. It's supposed to be. So it is pretty cool to have people in our circle like that.
Yeah.
And
Agreed.
you know, not to go into religion, but I do like reading the Bible here and there. And one of the things it says is like, if you're good and you surround yourself with bad, bad is gonna
Infiltrate.
overcome
Yeah.
or influence you more likely than you influencing them. So what you need to do is you need to remove yourself from there, and then you're gonna need to go find people who are gonna positively influence you.
I believe it. Yeah.
That's been a big conversation in our house with my oldest.
Ah,
'Cause she's 15 and she doesn't really do a whole lot. And we're like, you need to get out there, expand your horizons, surround yourself with people that want to do great things in life, like go play sports, like something.
yeah.
And so she's like, but mom, and I'm like, yeah, I know.
And like the norm is what you make it. Like if normal to you is everybody's getting pregnant and doing drugs, that's gonna everybody around you's doing that. You're like, oh, that's normal.
Right.
Versus if you surround yourself with people who are like, oh, I'm focused. I'm gonna go to college. I'm living a different lifestyle. You're like, no, this is normal. So it really, there's a saying that says the world isn't as you see it. It's what
It's
is
your
it?
perspective.
Yeah,
your perspective is your
perspective.
reality.
Yeah, basically.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I believe that.
I want to ask one last question. So we talked about, so you guys, he comes to you all the time with all these different ideas, right?
He does.
So you guys are parents. You guys obviously will have a marriage, so that's something else that needs time. You guys have full-time jobs. You guys have the tallow butter. You guys have our signature touch. You guys are doing the nonprofit/documentary. You're a photographer. You do video. How do you guys manage? And you're also very active on social media.
And
you do very
podcast.
good. Yeah, and podcasting. Yes. How do you manage? How do you do all of this?
It's rough. It's a lot.
And I don't know if I missed something. Maybe there's something I missed.
Well,
I don't know.
in between all of this, John actually just finished school.
Oh,
his
that's
engineering
true.
I
degree.
forgot about that. Yeah.
And then 2 years ago, I
Congratulations.
I'm gonna
finished
burn
mine. So, it's rough. Like throughout the week, it's just go, go, go. And then on the weekends, depending on what we need to do, is when we'll like make our tallow at night. And he stays up late and gets up super early to do his reading, to do editing. Like he's more go, go, go than I
Oh,
am.
and then you and I are doing cycle syncing. You two are doing 75 hard challenge.
Yeah. It's
Which
kicking my
thank
butt.
you, because now he's reading. So
Yes.
I've been trying to get him to read for the longest, and now he's doing it.
So I'm just getting thrown out here on this podcast.
Sorry.
That's gonna be like a reel of just one back. No. No.
So you're positively influencing him.
No.
Just
No.
so you know.
Same. Yeah.
It's a balance. He's a go, 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 like can't stop, overthinker, and I'm more of a just take a breath, one thing at a time. It'll be okay. And so I think like he pushes me to do things that I sometimes don't want to do, and I'm just like, just leave me alone. I just want to go to bed. I don't want to wake up at 5. Like, and I'm just like, hey, relax. It'll be okay.
I'm like, hey, we got that thing like next month. I think I need to do it right now. She goes, it's next month. I'm like, I know, I need to do it now. Like, so I wake up early. Like, it's like stuff that I want to do.
Yeah.
So it's to me, it's not like when I have to actually work my job. That's what I hate. When I get a meeting request, I'm like, damn, like, what do they want to talk about? Like, like that, I don't want to do that. But if someone calls me and you're like, hey, man, what's the documentary or what do you do the podcast? I'll talk about that. I'll do stuff like that all day long. But when it's like work, bro, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. But I'll wake up early. I'll stay up late to work on Signature Touch, the podcast, the documentary, whatever that is. Like, to me, it's like, it comes easy if you love doing it. And I just love doing it.
Some of the stuff we actually have to set time aside, like set up a meeting for ourselves
Oh, yeah. We
to
started.
do stuff.
Yeah. We set
Because-
meetings with each other now to make the tallow butter. I was like, hey, what are you doing on Friday? 3 to 4. You got time to make arm deodorant? And she was like, okay, yeah. I'm like, okay, cool.
You got time to sniff each other's armpits?
He does. He walks in, Kelly, and I'm like, oh my, get away from me, like leave me alone. But I think so we have just turned 4-year-old twins, and then we have 2 older daughters, a 12 and one's about to be 15, and they're amazing. They help us so much when we're here. So like if we need to do something, but we need the little ones kind of occupied or watched over so that we can just focus, they're there.
Yeah.
So
the little
it's-
moms.
They're pretty awesome.
Yeah.
We would be lost without them.
For sure.
So
I love that. Is there anything else you guys want to say or leave the listeners with before we go?
grab some Bernella because it smells amazing.
I agree.
Lavender and peppermint coming soon against Kelly's wishes.
I'm not a big peppermint fan. I was sick anything peppermint when I was pregnant with the twins, and it's just kind of stuck with me. I don't really care for it, so
But
There's
that's
some
coming
people
soon.
out there who like it.
But-
yeah, that's what he keeps telling me.
Thank you for inviting us. This means a lot, and
Yeah, of
I
course. Thank you
appreciate.
for coming.
I love everything y'all do. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, so now to do the outro. I need help because I used to never do.
Do you want to
outros.
say where they can find his podcast?
Yes.
Or
Okay.
change it
Yes.
to-
Yes. Okay. Okay. So how can we find you if people want to purchase anything from our Signature Touch, or if they want to follow along with the nonprofit and documentary?
You want me to go? You want me to say it?
You go ahead and start.
Okay, so Signature Touch is we're on Facebook, Instagram, and the website is oursignaturetouch.com, and the Instagram is our Signature Touch, and then you can follow along with the documentary. It's Biodiversity, the documentary on Instagram, and Biodiversity, the documentary on YouTube, and then the nonprofit is Our Sustainable Footprint on the on Instagram. Working on a website, so if you're a website builder and you want to work with a nonprofit, let me know. But yeah, so that's how you can find us.
All right. All right. Well, thank you so much. Okay. Wait. I need a second.
Go ahead.
Okay.
No pressure. Let's all stare up.
No.
Yeah, take your time.
Okay. So what I said. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Yeah,
Or
thank you so much for tuning in. If you like, be sure to subscribe, share,
Share.
tell your friends, and how to contact you guys or follow you guys as well.
Okay. All right. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you guys liked it, make sure to subscribe, like the video. I don't know what platform you're on. If it's YouTube, it's going to be video. We're also on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Share it with someone who you think might be interested in listening to this or you think might help them. And you can also follow us on Built from the Inside Out. That's how we are on YouTube, all the platforms, Instagram. And then my personal is Brianda Nava. Juan is Juan Nava. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you for tuning in to Built from the Inside Out. If you enjoyed this episode, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who could benefit from it. Remember to subscribe to our podcast to stay connected. And here's a special treat for our loyal listeners. Use code BUILT at www.bcnsubs.com for a 10% discount on your next order of BCN supplements. Thank you for being part of our supportive community. We're glad you're here, and we hope you'll join us again in the next episode of Built from the Inside Out.